Palacio's win last round gave him a much-needed boost after a miserable first race in Barcelona. However, Goodway saw reverse fortunes and stumbled, leaving Davies as our championship leader. Still winless, he's no doubt looking to rectify that stat today in Japan. We'll see if he can manage it as we get ready to watch round 3 of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series, and you'll see it all live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Okayama is a track familiar to any driver on iRacing who's worked their way up the road side of things, but it's still not that famous outside of the sim. Let's head down to our track guide in case any viewers need brushing up. You see some of the beautiful sights around the digital version of Okayama, but Adam, we've got the GT3 cars here today. How is that going to work with this class?
Well, not unlike our last few rounds, Okayama International Circuit is a challenging course full of medium-speed sweeping corners and hairpins. Featuring only 2 straights for passing, this small 2.3-mile, 3.7-kilometer, 13-turn course leaves the driver feeling like there is never enough time to get the engine spooled up in these GT3 machines. The best places to pass are on braking into the first corner and hairpin, with an ambitious pass in Redmond and Hobbs possible if you can set up the opposition. As always, conservation of momentum will be the name of the game in these GT3s, with the technical Williams and Moss S, as well as Revolver and Piper complexes, testing the limits of grip and determination for the drivers. But with so many cars on track and not very many places for them to go, I think track position in qualifying will mean more than it has all season, Joe.
It's really been important in the first 2 rounds already, so they've hopefully already learned that lesson. But one lesson we want to remind you of is, as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike like you. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net.
The GT3 series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free for use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Championship underway. I mentioned we've got the not unusual, but certainly odd situation where we have the leader, Davies, without a win, but leading the championship. Goodway behind him by 7 points with Pisano. Only one more behind Goodway. Then you've got Revito and Williams also in a tight 1-point fight back there for 4th and 5th. What about the team standings in the series so far?
Yeah, currently SimMSA Esports is keeping it strong up top in that first position, but SRT Esports Blue has pulled within 15 points, so not much of wiggle room there for SimMSA Esports. They're going to have to keep the pressure on and keep those wins coming, or try and get another win here very quickly to try and keep ahead. SRT Esports Orange has dropped back to 41 points behind. 10 points behind them is the SRT Esports Black, and then Magenta is following them up with 56. We have all 4 of those bottom 4 spots with the SRT Esports team, so SimMSA out there leading the charge alone.
Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. This is a pretty exciting series to watch, and we're in round 3 of the season currently. There's 6 different makes of cars that they can run, but interestingly, only 3 have been selected for today's round. They can't switch those around during the season unless there is a BOP from iRacing, in which case they'll get 1 shot to change if they determine they would like to change. Race distance is going to be a 40-minute sprint race. It's open setup, so drivers will need to be tweaking these things to their liking. And then they have an incident limit, which you can definitely run afoul of in a few places at this track, gathering those up, where you can even be disqualified if you get up to 17. There's bonus points that the drivers are trying to earn, one of which includes the session right now for the pole position. Before we get to that, a reminder that you can advertise with us. GSRC offers a wealth of options to help you get your branding seen on a platform with over 1 million monthly impressions. If your organization is looking for a global audience to advertise with, no further than GSRC. Follow the link in the description below to find out a little bit more. Right now, that qualifying, led by a man who's been quick, at least in this part of the race, but not necessarily the race itself. Adam, Diego Morales is yet to get a good result, but at least it looks like he's got a potential bonus point if he keeps this up here in qualifying.
A potential bonus point and good track position going into the race. That's going to mean the world to him, especially considering the fact that he's going to be leading them off of that very tight final corner. He could get an excellent run down to turn 1, and if he could just stay consistent out in front of the field, he's going to have a good shot at a good finish today. But that means keeping this qualifying performance going. Then with 7 minutes left and some decent track evolution left to go on this track, I think he's going to be hard-pressed to keep that pole position, especially with Sean Macbeth less than 2 tenths away.
Here's the thing, though. Even though this is set in October here in Japan, it must have had a heat wave. It's 110 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. It's also 82 degrees air temperature. There you see 43 Celsius on the track, which is pretty steamy, as the drivers will have to contend with that. You mentioned about keeping the grip underneath you. I wonder if getting a setup that's kind to the tires is going to be critical.
It definitely is, as Diego just went to the pole one more time. So remember, they can set up the cars. I believe this is an open setup series. Quick show. They can set up the cars however they'd like, so they should be able to adjust it based upon qualifying and race conditions, based upon however they like. Levi Jeffney coming across the line, still only good enough for 25th fastest across the line. An improvement though to 1:30.510. The leader at this point is the only one. Diego Morales, the only one breaking into the 128s.
Big jump up for Michael Davies on the order. He was down in 19th. He just bumped himself into 9th. I was getting a little bit worried. Granted, he's still a ways down, but it is incredibly close from about 4th place down to what looks like basically 15th, where they have all of only half a second between those positions. There are just thousands between some of the drivers. Barrett back here in 22nd, just completed his quickest lap at a 1:30.1. It's going to get him into 22nd.
Yeah, our 3rd place driver in the championship, Anthony Pisano, is actually struggling a little bit down there in the 14th position. That's not going to be a great start for him. And I mean, if I'm going to be generous to the drivers, unless there's a mistake that happens up ahead of you, I would expect about 5 or 6 positions to be the maximum you can gain today in a 40-minute race period. That's a very short amount of time to get passing done on a very tight technical track like this. So starting off down where he is right now in 15th for qualifying, I think Anthony is going to have a little bit of a struggle to try and gain some track position. The best he might be able to do is maybe 8th.
If we could take a glance at the number 69, who's currently sitting in 4th, Brett Thurman. He comes out of the final corner, half a second off of Morales, our pole sitter. See, nope, this is a slow lap, it looks like, for him, so this is not going to be an improvement on that 29.3. Got a couple more laps that he can notch up here with just under 5 minutes left to go, so we'll keep half an eye on the SRT Esport Red driver as things go on. Oh, and was that Revito, I think, that just got an improvement? Yeah, 29.2 puts him up to 4th.
It's a very good time for him for sure. An improvement to 4th is going to be very important going into this race for sure. I think, like I said, the track position is going to be really important, so anyone who can make it up there into those top spots is going to be vital.
Last round. Sitting down in 6, comes out of the final corner. This is Morales that we're watching. Looks like he's setting up a lap or something. That was a weird entry into the final turn. Palacio with a non-existent lap, as he must have had an off track somewhere and discounted it. So what about Tremblay? Jean-Marc down into the line at 29.4 on his 3rd lap was his quickest. He gets bumped down and is not able to claw that back because that was not any faster.
Yeah, these are the final moments of qualifying. A lap around here being in the 130s, so these guys are going to be cracking onto what may be their final lap here. Those crossing the line in the next 30 seconds may be able to get 2 laps in, but those following in behind in the 3-minute mark, they're going to be on their last 2 laps. So hopefully you've got enough fuel out there and you're getting ready to go for this one last lap, this one last shot at pole position.
Flanagan all the way down in 31st, coming down the front stretch. And a 30.6 will gain him, looks like, 1 position.
Davies coming around the final, going through the middle section of the course. Michael Davies just set that 129.5 a couple laps ago. Good enough for 10th position. Michael has moved up a little bit since we talked about him last, but he still has some work to do to get up there further into the top 5.
It's not going to be a fun one if he's stuck all the way back in the mid-pack at the start of this race. Morales out of the final turn. This one looks like more of a flyer. Nope, it's a slow lap, as he's still got ways to go to get to the line here. He's got chances for 2 more. A little over 2 minutes left to go. How about Sean Macbeth, who we haven't really talked about, who's right behind him? and he is about a tenth back, so he's got something of a gap up to Diego right now, but still he's put himself on the front row of the grid. Now let's see if he can capitalize it, get his second podium with his first one coming at Barcelona.
Yeah, he's trying to use that draft off of Diego to try and pull him a little bit more down the straights, but Diego's actually going to pull over and let Sean McBeth go. So Diego, looking at his delta, thinking to himself, I'm not going to improve, but if I'm going to drag Sean to pass me, I think I'm going to let him go. Maybe Diego's going to try and set up for one more lap here. He should be able to get that in if he cools down the tires a little bit and sets up again. Sean McBeth, though, going for a flyer.
Ooh, and Davies just crossed the line, good enough for the second row. A 129.2 puts him within 3.5 tenths of Diego Morales. So that is looking much, much better for a championship leader. Menino is coming down to the line with enough time to go one more time around. That looks like he was on an out lap. That would be a little bit slow.
I think that time that Davies just put in is going to put a little bit of fear into Diego Morales, because that means that there's time to find on this track for sure. Sean McBeth coming around. He's probably going to cross the line now. We'll see what kind of time he does.
Oh, no improvement for him. We know that's going to be a slow one for Morales. Less than a lap's worth of time to go. Kyle Stryker's down in 28th. What kind of speed does he have? His quickest right now is a 30.5. Just under 2 seconds slower than our fastest time so far in this session. It's a long ways down to that finish line, and he slows, I think, a little bit there.
Yeah, definitely not a faster lap, but this time around, he's got one more lap to do it. He's got one more lap to put in a good time. It's going to be stressful, though. Looks like he's dealing with a very tight race car through the center of these faster corners, and he's just gone off track. He will not improve.
Clock ticks down to 0 just as Strykars has his incident. But Davies is going to be the first to take the checkered flag. It's not an improvement. It is better for Ron Fusi, up to 17th for him.
Oh, Sean McBeth's just gone off track, so our second place driver will not improve. So Diego Morales should be fairly secure unless Lewis Goodwin can improve.
Goffney with no better time that time through. Menino as well stays put in 18th. What about Pisano, who's third in the championship? A 29.6 will bump him up to 14th, but still, it's a long ways down. Palacio not able to do anything. Last round's winner will start no better than 9th.
And here comes Diego Morales around. He's going to try and improve his current pull time. He goes across a 128.686. That is an improvement. That's going to be the fastest time yet.
Wow. Nearly 3 tenths over Sean McBeth, who has no chance to respond. Cheney's last lap looks like that one was not any faster. Last few were coming to the line. Raymond Day, one of them, took podium last round as the number 7 tries to crack into the top 10. What does he have? Oh, and it's not faster.
Is Lewis Goodway any faster? Yes, 128.992, but that's not going to be good enough to snatch second place. Just a couple of hundredths actually shy of that second position.
That's everybody. So our grid is now set. Let's go through the starting order for today. Big field out here. Diego Morales with another pole, but can't convert it this time. Sean McBeth. Remember, he qualified in 5th and took 3rd in the first round. With him starting in 2nd, that bodes well for his chances for victory. Lewis Goodway will be starting in 3rd, with our championship leader managing to put it in 4th, Mike Davies. Dan Revito starts P5, and Jean-Marc Tremblay improved up to a 6th position there on the qualifying. Brett Thurman all the way to 7th, and Jorge Flores will be starting in 8th. Inside of the next row has Palacio. That does not bode well for him, and J.R. Williams will be rounding out your top 10.
11th is going to be Raymond Day, who did not get into the top 10. Then we have Pete Morotin starting off in the 12th position. Arnaud Januk is going to start off in 13th, with Anthony Pisano all the way down in 14th position. Tony Costello today with Christopher Rines alongside him in 16th. Then we have Ron Fusi in 17th, with David Menino down in 18th position. Angelo Velos and Kenny Rodriguez will round out your top 20.
First to Brian Hotham with James LeBlanc in 22nd. That's actually a very good qualifying for James. Jared Keane will be starting in 23rd with Brett Barrett in 24th. And you've got Piotr Margula, P25, Levi Goffney in 26. Inside of the next row, Sammy Bridges, followed by Kyle Strykars in 28th. Danny Duchesne starts 29th, and David Flanagan will be within the top 30.
31st is Barry Cochran with Ariel Salazar starting off in 32nd. Neil Alexander in 33rd position with Lawson Christie starting off 34th. Spencer Senkovich starting off in the 35th position. Andrew Benas starting off in 36th. A fast Aaron Law from last week is starting off 37th today. And Gary Schilling in 38th. 39th will be Sean Foes. Everybody set a qualifying time, and that's 39 cars starting this race.
It is going to be packed. It's not a terribly short lap, but it is enough of a lap that I think the drivers will be tripping over each other pretty quickly. We saw the traffic play a part in last week's race. Unfortunately, not quite the way that some drivers would have hoped. So hopefully there's a little bit more clear interactions between the lap cars and our leaders as we wait for the pace car to lead them away. No abatement of the temperature, as it is still 110 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface here in Japan, with just a slight bit of wind that shouldn't really affect the cars too much. So not a full pace lap here, Adam, and I'm guessing they don't really have to worry about heating those tires up too much.
I mean, cold tires are going to be a concern going into one, especially braking. It's going to feel a little tight going into the first corner. The braking won't quite be where they're expecting, but that being said, you're going to need to play it safe regardless on the first lap, as things are going to be very tense of the 39 car field. And you were talking about the lap traffic being nicer around here, possibly. I mean, considering the fact of how relatively short this track is, I feel like lap traffic will definitely come to play a part, and these guys, the people at the back, are not going to be far away from people they're competing with, so it's still going to be tight and tense for those lead drivers going through.
So watch out for the pit entry, which they're actually going by just right now. It is in Mike Knight corner. They have to enter there. They can't come in right where you just saw the pace car enter, or else it will be an unsafe pit entry. John McBeth getting a little bit ahead of Diego Morales here. He's going to have control, and he goes very early. Diego Morales on the loud pedal as the green flag waves here for round 3 in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. They're going to have to cover off the inside. Sean McBeth playing defense on Goodway, who looks to go the long way around and might actually do it as he holds station. We got a little bit of a spin in the background. We'll get back to that in a moment. And second place goes to Goodway.
Yeah, a couple of cars spun in the backfield, so the back of the pack very, very slow on the startaway. But man, look at that. Diego's just flying off into the distance. The battle for third is very tight, still side by side as they go into the downhill. Starting 40 for the back chicane, back straightaway here. They do start to straighten up, but one car actually spears off into the wall. That was dangerous. He's starting to rejoin now. We'll catch up on what that is. Just trying to keep things going, but it looks like he's definitely blanching under the pressure. Diving to the inside here. Oh my goodness, contact is made as Sean McBeth goes around.
Almost looked like netcode or something weird happened there, unless he just spun the tires. Looks like we won't have another angle of that one as he eventually gets it going down to 17th, 18th, and looks like he stopped the bleeding at 19th position. Sean McBeth, who had all the opportunities, has found himself with a hill to climb. 4th place now as we take a glance at Revito. Car behind him is Jorge Flores in the 929.
It's interesting to see. It's just a sea of SRT esports machines out there. The color scheme is everywhere. We'll kind of try to keep you abreast on who is who as we continue to go into this race. As we take a look right now, that is Danny Revito leading Jorge Flores and Julio Palacio as he's starting to come up into this as well.
Flores pulls a little bit of a slipstream, but the straightaway not nearly long enough as they hit the brakes for the hairpin, and Revito will stay safe for the time being. So interestingly, what the incident with McBeth did is Goodway is now 3 seconds actually behind Morales. We don't need to go to it because this is the better battle on screen right here. Morales has even more breathing space now.
Yeah, Goodway falling away to that 3 seconds is definitely going to give Morales an opportunity to kind of relax a little bit, cool those tires, maybe take a few less risks. But this battle for the rest of the field is very tense now. It's all stacking up behind Lewis Goodway in second position.
They return to the front stretch once again. Revito trying to get back up to the back of Davies because now that McBeth, Revito has a chance at a potential podium, but he hasn't been threatening at this point. That could, of course, switch around as the tires get worn away in this incredible heat out here in the Japanese countryside. I love how this track weaves back and forth through portions through the Moss S up to Atwood Curve, and then it climbs along a hillside up on the back stretch, higher portion of the circuit. It's almost tiered as you go from front to back, but nobody really getting opportunities among them. Everybody just kind of stuck in position.
Yeah, stuck in position, and it's just so difficult to get any progress going. Remember, these GT3s are a momentum machine to carry the momentum through the corners to make an opportunity work, and it's just so hard, and that's a slow car on track. I'll keep my eyes on who that is.
That's Cochran. He's just being lapped. I think he was trying to get out of the way. Unfortunately, when you stop at the apex of the corner, that doesn't really do that job well. A few of the drivers making a remark on that one as well. I think Brett Thurman wasn't too fond of that maneuver. The drivers were told, they were given instructions from the stewards before this race on what some of the lap traffic should do, and they did say not to just park it on the track. So I wonder if Cochran will have a little bit of a chat with them post-race. On to the front stretch, one more. Revito still working hard. He's got it to 1.4 seconds within Davies.
And Sean Macbeth must have some pretty significant damage because he's taken it into the pits at this point. So after having that incident through the switchbacks, he's now into the pits for some repairs, unfortunately.
I think he can make it to the end from here. I think this is just about where the window opens. We'll find out soon enough, I guess, unless he makes the second stop. We continue to watch this fight here between 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. We've got a little bit of a better battle, though, down in the mid-pack here, Adam, for 19th.
Yeah, this is actually, for 19th through about, 22nd. This is between Piotr Magula, Barrett, Strykers, and Bridges, with Barry Cochran, BMW, going by on the right side, or the left side of your screen, rather. And we have a couple of cars. That's Kyle Stryker is trying to poke his nose out on Brett Barrett, as Barrett's trying to pursue Margula. Margula was chasing him for quite a while and then made a risky pass into the first corner. But Brett Barrett's not going to let him go, and these guys all stacked in behind one another.
I wonder if this heat has caused a lot of wear that has produced marbles, because I'm looking at the exits of a few corners, and there is so much detritus there that if anybody goes offline, it looks like it might be difficult to try and complete the pass. I noticed it with Strykers. He went a little bit wide, and even though it looked like he should have the momentum, suddenly backed out of it. Well, he's got momentum here, maybe too much, as he goes wide through the final corner. And now vulnerable. That's Sam Bridges just behind him, gaining ground, covers off just slightly as Strykers shows a little bit of elbow, and he'll hold the position. But things are not looking good for the 07.
And that's exactly what you were talking about, Joe. Those marbles out there is exactly what caused Kyle Strykers to go wide. And they had a 3-hour practice before this race, and the marbles and dust were not cleared from the track before they started this racing session. So all of that is left there from the practice session, and that's what's affecting these guys when they get offline.
That makes it an even worse situation for a track that is proving very tough to pass at right now. The green leader of Margula, ahead of Brett Barrett. Not going to give it away this time down into the hairpin. 3 different lines through that corner from all 4 cars.
Oh, and behind them we actually have a battle going on between Lawson Christie and Neil Alexander as they go through the tight switchback section for 27th and for 26th and 27th position. Neil Alexander just made the pass there on Lawson Christie, and this group all behind them has been really bundled up ever since the start of the race.
That's Salazar in there as well, in the blue machine with the yellow rims, trying to go around the outside of Redmond. I didn't think that one would quite work, so he slots back into line.
Couple early takers on pit stops, Joe. We have Jean-Marc Tremblay coming in. I believe that's Danny Duchesne coming into the pits as well, so quite a few drivers taking those early pit stops, like you mentioned.
Went back because we didn't check on how long Macbeth's pit stop was. It was only 8.4 seconds. I think that is just a fuel stop, no tires, and in and out. So whatever damage he did have must have been minor. I wonder if he was just trying to get himself a little bit of track position, if he felt too mired up in all the slower cars.
Definitely might be a possibility as we jump up back to the battle for 4th, being led by Dana Revito. I think that might be an idea to break out of the traffic, especially if you think you're faster than them. Remember, John Macbeth was battling for the top couple positions until he had that incident. So getting that stop in early might have been a strategy to try and get out of traffic, but it really hasn't worked for him. He's come out in the middle of the back marker traffic, which is all together, which is really starting to hold him up.
Yeah, up next from is Tony Costello for 30th. Well, at that point, though, I take it he just kind of had to take some sort of risk. So we once again take a glance at second place. Goodway and Davies going to have round 2 in a 1-to-1 fight here. Remember, at Barcelona, Goodway managed to sneak ahead. And then Davies did not retake him after he lost his lead right in the very first difference being this time. Goodway started ahead of Davies. Now he's going to have to hold him off while already having the better position from the very beginning.
These drivers may be driving the same setup considering they're on the same team, but they definitely have their brake by set in different ways. Michael Davies clipping grass a little bit there. Hear it on our onboard camera, but I think that definitely that Lewis Goodway has a little bit more brake bias because he's getting a little bit better turn in, whereas Davies seems to be a little tight into the corner. Now that may be driver preference as well, as Davies gets extremely loose actually coming through that second turn into the chicane portion.
Just want to note that Revito was back as far as 1.4 seconds. It's down to 6/10 of a second now, actually. Revito is gaining and could be a threat to the number 75. Let's see if maybe he himself tries to take a little bit of an earlier, well, it's not an early stop at this point. We're actually almost at the end of the pit window. So will he have time to try and jump these two with a slightly alternate strategy if he thinks he's faster?
And that requires excellent knowledge and practice with pit in. Pit in is so challenging here. Like you said, it starts way further back than the drivers would expect, and you can carry a ton of speed into the pit lane if you are on the edge.
Go over that edge, though. It's bad news and could be costly. Edges of the track here up into Atwood, pretty much all grass and dirt. They try to find all the speed they can on that exit. It is the longest straight that they've got down the backstretch up towards the hairpin. And though Goodway does have a mirror full of Davies, Davies is still not on the attack.
I do want to update us on Anthony Pisano. He's down in 26th position. He's our third place runner in the championship points, and he is stuck in this battle for 24th spot. He is just stuck way down on a huge battle. He hasn't hit yet either, so there is really no way for him to get out of this. But as they come out of the corner, that's Neil Alexander leading Lawson Christie, Anthony Pisano, and Ariel Salazar. And Pisano, our third place championship points driver, just stuck in the traffic right now.
I wonder if he was involved in that opening corner wreck that caught a lot of drivers up, because he started this race in 14th, and with him being down in 26, he had to have lost a lot of spots for some reason. And I don't think that is just due to pace. You can see him just unfortunately all tangled up with Alexander, Christie, and Salazar with no place to go.
And the difference between the pace of the front-running drivers and the back-running drivers is about 2 seconds. But where you find that 2 seconds is in corners, which means that it's nearly impossible to try and affect the pass, because on the straights, you're not getting an advantage. So it's so challenging to pass cars that may be even slower than you, just because the braking zones are a quarter of a second earlier at every corner, because that's not where you usually make the pass opportunities.
We watch this. Take a glance at Morales to see how far he has in traffic. He has still a number of laps, so he's got time to continue to extend up to 6.5 seconds over Goodway. But knock on wood, because Diego has had some bad luck and certainly made some critical errors so far this season. Up the back stretch, though, here, as this fight between Pisano has now come to defense, because Salazar is beside him, but Salazar decides that Audi just doesn't quite have it under braking on the BMW.
And I want to give Morales some credit, because I think I short shrifted him at the beginning of this race. I thought he might get caught by Goodway, but that 6.5 second gap is definitely proving to be a formidable one. But Lewis Goodway under some pretty serious pressure. Oh, here comes Pisano up the inside. Oh, makes contact.
Everybody checks up. Oh, there was one little bit of contact as well. Aaron Law getting into Christie. But otherwise, it looks like Pisano and Salazar were able to sneak by there. Stewards will probably have a look at that one as well. That was ambitious. Now less than half the race left to go. I have to admit, I too am quite impressed with Morales. As a driver who can buckle down and put mistakes behind him to put in a dominating performance deserves some appreciation. Meanwhile, this is 11th place. Rhines ahead of Fusi.
Yeah, Fusi's been putting some pressure on the Ryans. They have Gary Schilling and Danny Duchesne who are battling for 36th position up ahead of them, so those two aren't going to be too inclined to move over for Rhines and Fusi. Actually, that's Arnaud Dennis right ahead of them. So Duchesne and Schilling still a couple of seconds spread apart. So guess position and starting to get held up now by Duchesne. So Rhines and Fusi might be closing in on them.
I love this. This is an East versus West fight with Fusi hailing from California and Rhines hailing from New York. So a cross-country fight between these two, but a much better exit for Rhines. So let's head up to that battle in front of them. Look at that, flashing his lights as Genet taking a look on Duchesne, and that's, that's lap traffic that he is trying to get by. So Duchesne's just going to let him through.
Yeah, but this is actually as they go through the very technical Williams here. He's going to have to take away from the apex. Now Ron Fusi's going to have to go side by side. This isn't going to slow him up that much. Ryan's navigated that very well. Looks like Peter Margula has come into the pit lane, and so has Sean Macbeth once again. So Sean Macbeth, no. I think something's catching up with him, whether it be damage, maybe he's getting a fuel in the car. But those two drivers in the pits. Margula is definitely in for a scheduled stop, though. 9.5 seconds and back out.
I'm hearing some chatter from Macbeth. I'm trying to see. He may have had some contact. He was in a close fight with Aaron Law. I think actually he was trying to lap Aaron Law.
He would have been trying to lap Aaron Law. He's currently listed behind him. Law has some damage on the right front due to running into the parked car of... I believe that was Christie, yes. So, unfortunately, I think Sean was just frustrated with the fact that Aaron was fighting him. Maybe.
It could have been.
Angelo Velos will be our next pit road taker, coming in from the 14th position, battling with David Menino. So, Velos coming in fast. We have most of our field that has yet to take a pit stop with 17 minutes to go. So, pit lane might get very busy coming up here, Jeff.
Our second place driver, Louis Goodway, he's starting to form a little bit of a truly train. Revito's back there behind Davies. Flores is behind him. Palacio is in there and just starting to catch up all the way back to 7th. Rhett Thurman could get involved too. I think Goodway is being a little bit of a plug in the spigot, unfortunately.
Either that or he's trying to do something crazy on fuel. This isn't exactly a thirsty track when it comes to its distance versus how long you're on full throttle. So he might be trying to do something sneaky here and sneak a quick pit stop out of this, but I don't know, giving up 7 seconds to the leader is a little bit much. I don't think he can make that much up in the pits when some of our pit stops have only been 7 seconds. So yeah, I think you're right. He's probably just holding these guys up at this point. Davies has got to find a way by.
Yeah, I'm pretty that nobody can get to the end on fuel based on the limited fuel cell that they put on this car.
Anthony Velos is around backwards in the hairpin.
Oh, he got help, and it's again from Aaron Law. In fact, it looks like they also tripped up Tony Costello, who had to get on the brakes very hard to avoid the spinning car. There's Law. I'm going to try and look at the replay, see if we can get a better look at the incident. This happens into the hairpin. That's Velos and the yellow and black machine. Law and the pink. Does he just outbrake himself? Oh. Well, they both went wide, weirdly enough. And then wound up getting together, unfortunately. So Velos gets the car going, but loses a couple positions because of it. We'll come back live and see him still racing on here in the last few minutes of this race, maybe about 17 to go. Goodway starting to hold Michael Davies back enough that maybe he can feel a little more comfortable.
Yeah, this is interesting because I would have expected that Davies would try something on Goodway here, but it's not happening. And I think that Davies has to be careful because he's got to be careful of Dan Vito behind him. I mean, all these all these SRT esports guys may be comfortable. Morales is taking off the wind right now.
It's looking like we might have our third different winner in 3 races if things continue on this way. Hotham now comes in for a stop. So right now, Jean-Marc Tremblay is our highest driver to have pitted, but he is in 24th with many, many drivers still yet to come in. Only 13 minutes left to go.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So Goodway and Davies up there in 2nd and 3rd position are SimMSA Esports teammates, right? Dan Vito is SRT, Jorge Flores SRT, the rest of these guys are SIT, so they may be playing the team game here. They may not care about Diego Morales, who's on the Wii Racing team that's further down in the points. So they may be thinking that, okay, yeah, we'll let him go get the win on the road, but we'll get the win in the team points when it comes to finishing position.
That team's championship is definitely just as important to the drivers in this series, so don't discount that. Many are likely thinking of that and what they can do to help out in that situation. A little bit of a bad exit here from Revito, but still Flores can't do much with it. He's going to hold station.
Yeah, this is the trouble with this track, and it's frankly been the trouble with the other tracks that we've raced as well. There's just not many places to pass, especially when you've got a driver that's just as quick as you ahead. It's just trying to capitalize on mistakes that are made ahead of you, and to be honest, Goodway's not making many of them. I mean, I would say that Davies is the one sort of making mistakes at this point, but Davies seems to have more raw pace. It looks like Kyle Strikers has gone around on the front stretch.
Oh, this is a repeat of, trying to remember who it was that we saw that hit the inside. I don't think we need a replay of the 07. Yeah, that's who it was. In his blue and white BMW smacking the inside. This one did spin Stryker's around as he didn't face flush to it. So he's missing his hood right now as we stay with our top drivers, still vying for 2nd place. Look at how wide Goodway takes it onto the entry into Redmond.
And Goodway just being very conservative right now with this train behind him. They're not pressing him very hard. Oh, and we have our first biter. That's Palacio who's going into the pits now.
Last round's winner at Brands Hatch. Palacio hits the cones. Well, doesn't actually literally hit them, but slows down and looks for his stall. Tremblay, who is our highest pitter, is currently coming around Piper. I'm pretty certain that Palacio should easily come out ahead of him.
He was quite a bit far ahead of him when Tremblay pit as well, so Palacio already going 7.8 seconds in the stall. This might be a little bit of a probe from SRT Esports to see whether or not the undercut is a good strategy. They're going to do some math now that Palacio's back out on track to see where they would all come out if they took that opportunity to jump into the pits now.
I guess when you have that many bullets in the chamber, you can afford risking one of them, whoever is willing to give it a try. Palacio's back out. Also, looks like we got a stop for Brett Barrett, who has actually completed his, and he's coming back to the racetrack currently.
Yeah, Joe, when you're saying bullets in the chamber, 15 of the top 25 point scorers in this series so far are SRT Esports drivers.
Oh, goodness. It's a good thing that they do have to split them up into smaller teams, as here we go. This might be pretty close to the end of the window because only Flores stays out as Goodway, Davies, and Revito are in. Thurman stays out. Morales stays out.
All right, so we're about to see the Battle of Wits here. What was anybody saving fuel on that last run? Is it going to matter when they come out of the pits? Let's find out. Looks like everyone's going to come out in the order they came into the pits. A little bit of an advantage there to Goodway. He actually gained about half a second, maybe even have a full second gap. Dane Revito actually fought about the inside into the first corner there on Davies after pit stops, but they're out once again.
But cool heads prevail there, so try anything too risky as it is. Narrow coming out of there. I think we got a couple more takers. No, they're exiting the pits. Looks like Christopher Rines is in and out. On Fusi has completed his stop, and I believe, no, Flanagan did not. He has yet to stop.
And Davies has good reason to try and fight as hard as he can to keep Ravito behind him. Ravito is only 10 points behind Goodway in the championship right now. Good news for Goodway is that Anthony Pisano, who's in third in the championship, is still stuck behind most of his lap traffic down further in the field. So Davies currently fighting for his championship spot in second.
Torres, he now comes in, but Morales stays out yet another lap. This is incredible. Not only has he been pulling away from the entire field, but he has been saving fuel on top of it.
So the rest of the leaders come in, I believe. Menino will be another one to come into the pits, so everyone else is coming in. Morales is the last one out there. But he has no reason to come in. If he's getting the fuel mileage and he knows how far he needs to go, he might as well just stick out. I mean, he's got more than a pit stop. Well, he doesn't have a full pit stop, but he has the time that he'd be stopped in the box in hand over the rest of the field. So, and he does have more than a pit stop over the rest of the field. 32 seconds last I checked to Lewis Goodway, who's currently in second, and a pit stop only taking at most 28 and a half.
Just been almost flawless race from the number 22 cars. We watch him work his way through Redmond, Hobbs. This has got to be it. We're now at 33 minutes into this race. That is plenty far, and he motions towards the pit entry. There he goes. Looking to take his service. Bridges and Flanagan, by the way, are the other two that have not pitted yet.
He didn't attack the pit entry particularly hard, so this might be a little bit tighter to Goodway than was predicted. I'm not sure he's going to come out with that full 8-second gap that he had before, but we'll keep our eyes on Goodway and see where he ends up.
It was a 6.5 second stop for Goodway, which is a pretty good pit stop in these cars. Usually looking for 7 to 8 seconds. And a fast one for Morales as well. Only 6.4 himself. Lewis Goodway is coming down the stretch, but he can only watch as those taillights disappear.
We'll keep our eyes up, but currently Lewis Goodway's pit crew and that refueling would take the prize for the fastest pit stop in the race so far. We have a couple more drivers who need yet to pit, but we'll keep our eyes out. Currently, Goodway holding that championship.
Looks like Flanagan and Bridges are both in. Now, I just noticed my stats say that Sean Macbeth did not stop in his pit stall. I wonder if Sean ran afoul of the incident limit. Remember, it's quite low at only 11 incidents before you are served a drive-through automatically.
Yeah, it's so easy to get off tracks around here, Joe. The grass is everywhere, and iRacing is very strict with what an off-track is around this circuit because you theoretically could gain a lot of time by going wide. So that may be the case. Sean Macbeth's just having a horrible day right now down in 17th position.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely that we're going to see the number 252 back up on the podium this time. Right now, that podium sits with Morales in the lead at about 5.5 seconds over second place, Lewis Goodway. Goodway holding Davies back to 1.3 seconds, with Davies rounding out the podium. So they come down the front stretch. Are starting to come forward in this race as we're less than 5 minutes to go. If there is anything underneath Lewis Goodway, he has got to go now.
Yeah, and I knew that the draft had a big effect on these cars. I didn't realize how big it was. Lewis Goodway, when he came into the pits, we have a Jorge Flores. Looks like he just had a moment through the first turn.
Oh no. Let's take a look and see what happened. Oh, this was in Williams.
I was about to talk about him and how he lost out in the pits because of his pits, because of when he pit. But Jorge Flores really struggling with that car in Williams right now. Here we go.
Oh, he just didn't turn in soon enough. Those
like
marbles we were talking about.
Looks like a little bit of a brake bias thing. The back end seemed to come around. He wanted to correct it, so he didn't get on the brakes any harder, and it just washed him out.
Could we see Danny Ravito steal the podium here today? If we go back up to third place, Davies has gone from attack to defense. There you can see the Ferrari.
And Margulies had an incident. He was recently battling with Anthony Pisano for 24th position.
We'll unfortunately have to take a look at that a little bit later because Ravito still within half a second. of Michael Davies. Wonder if he could find himself spraying the champagne pretty soon. Now 3.5 minutes left to go, and Davies does not look like he is catching Goodway.
Davies still struggling to get up to Goodway, but he's got a target up ahead of him. Vito trying to catch up, and Palacio's around.
Oh no.
This is mate. He spun by himself, and Williams unfortunately collecting Spencer Semkovich as well.
Wow, so for some reason, Williams is proving very difficult at the very end here. Can already see a little bit of damage on Semkovich. He's a lap down. A position that's got to be frustrating for Spencer. Once again, car just goes as soon as that rear starts to break loose.
That's two Audis that have struggled there, and I believe it was the other car that had trouble right before this was also an Audi, so those Audis might be starting to struggle a little bit with the rear tire wear. But P3 getting very intense right there. Michael Davies trying to hold on, but that Audi just looking really unpleasant at the moment. Dan Revito seems to be in a good position here. He just needs to set up Davies for a pass, but Davies with a better exit on the looks great.
What have we said before about the Audis? Medium and high-speed corners are not their friends. So it looks like there's a few places around this circuit that is hellish for these German cars. This time, good through turn one. Davies coming through Williams, and that one looks solid. So Revito's going to have to try for another opportunity if he could get it to show up.
It looks like Davies using a couple of his remaining incidents to try and get a good opportunity here.
Is this enough of a slipstream? It's within 0.4 of a second. Covers him off as Davies tries to block the inside line. They hit the braking zone. Davies is strong. Revito is strong as well, but not strong enough. He has to back out of it.
Revito getting into the marbles on the outside again. Didn't quite turn it in to tuck in behind Davies. Gets himself into the marbles, and now he's got a little bit of work to do to catch back up to him because he lost all the grip on those front tires as soon as they hit the marbles there.
And as this is happening just in front of them up the road by about 7 seconds, Diego Morales is coming around the final corner to take the white flag. 30 seconds left to go.
Impressive performance from Morales. He's really started to pull away in the middle portion of this race towards the end. Lewis Goodway is reeling him in a little bit, but I mean, it's not going to matter. It's too late at this point. Morales way too far up the road.
Yeah, it would take something dire for him to lose this one at this point. Even then, he's got so much of a gap between himself and those chasing. He could actually get away with it as well. This battle for P3 between Revito as this last shot on the backstretch. This is perhaps the last pass, but Revito doesn't look like he's there.
He just doesn't have he's just not close enough. Michael Davies has not put a foot wrong, really. I mean, he's taken some aggressive moves. The car's gotten a little bit unpleasant, but it looks like Davies has adjusted the brake bias just a little bit there to make the... And he's definitely starting to get a better shot off of the corner than Revito. Revito trying to be aggressive into the corners. It's not working out for him. This is Revito's last opportunity through this chicane.
That would take a mighty dive. A little bit of a look from the Ferrari, but nothing doing. Let's head up to our lead Audi now. The 22 of Diego Morales didn't start things off on the greatest foot, but I guess you could say a championship run starts here as he wins in Japan.
Looks like Davies is going to be able to hold off Revito as Goodway gets second, Davies third, Revito having to settle for fourth.
Behind them, bit of a battle for 11th between Fusi and Rines, as well as Jean-Marc Tremblay. And they got lap traffic in front of them that's fighting. This could be a little bit of a mess. Look at them fan out as they come up the front straight, but Fusi looks like he's got it. So that'll be 11th for the number 14 car.
Battle for 26 is pretty tight between Neil Alexander and Ariel Salazar and Kenny Rodriguez. This three wide, and they actually bang doors as they go down the straight here. Neil Alexander coming out better, but Ariel's going to pack it in. Here we go with Kenny Rodriguez trying to make it 3 wide there as they go through the chicanes. It's going to be very tight between these drivers as they're battling for the 26th spot on track. Oh man, Ariel Salazar pulling out in front of Neil Alexander. Neil gives him a little bit of a bump as they go through the last couple of corners. Ariel Salazar out front. Neil Alexander in the 27th spot with Kenny Rodriguez 28th. Kenny can't get a good enough run to try and pass Neil Alexander on the backstretch. No, it's going to be Ariel Salazar, Neil Alexander, and Kenny Rodriguez 26th, 27th, and 28th.
That's going to wrap up our battle still on the track. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Okayama International Circuit, round 3 here, and the PRL GT3 Sprint Series finally gave Diego Morales the win he's been looking for. He took the victory by 4.5 seconds over Lewis Goodway, but it was actually much larger than that for a good chunk of the race. So I wonder if he was just pulling back there on that last stint to bring it home. Goodway with second was ahead of Davies, who rounds out the podium and probably still has the points lead, I believe. Dan Revito will finish 4th today. Pete Mobrotten, 12th to 5th for him. Nicely done. Brett Thurman will be finishing in 6th position. And then Jorge Flores finishes 7th. Raymond Day with an 8th is ahead of Julio Palacio. Is that exactly where he finished in 9th place? And Arnaud Genet finishes 10th.
Ron Fusi able to move up 6 spots up into the 11th position to end the race. Christopher Ryan's up to 12th. Jean-Marc Tremblay, not a great day, down to 13th position after starting off up in the top 10. Then we have David Menino finishing off in 14th position. Jared Keane in 15th. James LeBlanc comes home in 16th. Worst day award goes to Sean Macbeth, ending in the 17th position. A fantastic recovery after spinning in the opening portions of the race, starting off in 2nd position, down to 25th, up 17th. He did recover pretty well, but still not a great day. Brian Hotham finishing 18th with Brett Barrett 19th. Angelo Velos rounds out your top 20.
21st goes to Sammy Bridges, with David Flanagan going from 30th to 22nd. Anthony Pisano was 23rd, followed by Levi Goffney in 24th, Tony Costello in 25th, and then Ariel Salazar in 26th. Neil Alexander had 27th today, with Kenny Rodriguez going a little bit backwards into 28th. 29th went to Aaron Law, and 30th to Mark Gula. Last driver on the lead lap was Lawson Christie. From there on down, you could see these are cars a lap down. We had 3 DNFs with Strykers, Schilling, and Williams. Our winner today has been looking for a chaser to wash away the bitter taste of the first 2 rounds. And Diego, I have to imagine this one at least does a little bit to get that taste out of your mouth.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh my God. Terrible start of the season for me for the first two races, and finally I could do one race without any mistake. So yeah, I'm really happy with that.
Do you think getting yourself on the pole was a big help in that? Because it looked like it was awful tough to pass here today.
Yeah, this track is really tricky to pass. Yeah, I tried to practice a lot the qualifying run, and I was able to get a good lap at the beginning. But definitely, it's really hard to pass here. So you need to stay behind if you are behind someone, and just try to say something you made the pass in the pit. But yeah, good race, and glad I got the pole there. So made everything a little bit easier.
You mentioned that the season didn't start too well for you. So is this kind of where the championship run starts to try and defend, or do you see this as going to be a really difficult uphill climb to even think about that?
Yeah, I'm thinking one race at a time, just trying to be consistent in first two races. So definitely now I'm more focused, and I'll try to be faster and more consistent throughout the season. And let's see how it ends. It's a long season, so there are a lot of races to recover. Let's do that.
Yeah, thankfully, and you've got drop weeks as well, or a drop week, I believe, to help you out there. So, congratulations on your first victory of the season. Anybody you want to thank for making this one happen?
Yeah, sure. Thank you guys for streaming us. Thank the league organizers as well, and my team that is behind me, always supporting and giving that word of encourage after every like these kind of things that happen on the first races. So yeah, thank you everyone. To the next one.
That was our winner, Diego Morales. Behind him, the driver who was leading the championship on the way in, Michael Davies, finished third, and Adam has caught up with him.
Yeah, Mike, it looks like it was a hard-fought battle with you and Lewis up there. It just looks like you couldn't quite get up to him. What was the story of the race today? Mike, you got us?
Yeah, sorry. We just seem to be struggling with overall pace, both of us. We have nothing to even get near what Diego was doing at the front. Great job by him. And yeah, we just managing tires in the end.
And when it came down to the end of that race, managing the tires, after that pit stop, Lewis got a good pit stop and pulled out a couple of seconds ahead of you. Did you think you had an opportunity to catch back up to him, or were you just content on riding behind him?
I would just sat there. There was an opportunity before stop to get past him. And Lewis is, like I mentioned at Catalonia, Lewis is really good on fuel. Even though I was lifting and coasting behind to save fuel, he still was able to save more than what I was. So it's it's just I think if I'm maybe coming a lap earlier because Lewis was slightly slow coming onto the pit lane. If I come in a lap earlier, I think I may have jumped him, but it is what it is.
So next week we head into Sao Paulo and we race at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Interlagos, what are your thoughts going into that round?
It's one of my favourite tracks, so if I come away anything on any step of the podium, I'd be happy.
Well, is there anyone you want to thank today for the great finish today?
I'd like to thank the old team at SimMSA for the great work what they've been doing, not just with PRL and also sponsoring the league, but just in general. We've got an hectic schedule with a lot of events coming up, and just gone actually with Petit and Sports Car Open, and it's yeah. And thank you for broadcasting.
Yeah, no problem, Mike, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right.
That was Michael Davies, who finished third today, and we've got Lewis Goodway, who finished in second.
And Lewis, it sounds like your teammate is a little bit envious of your fuel saving skills. Is that something that's going to remain secret this season?
I did. There's some I've always been good with. I don't really know why. I don't know.
Well, it's certainly a skill that has served you well, especially if you can get up to those top spots. You managed to start ahead of him this time, so no having to make a dive into the first corner to hold him at bay. Even still, you've now got a win and a second place under your belt. This seems like a fairly good start to the season for you.
Yeah, other than the bad luck at Brands, it's been going all right. Would like to be closer to the front, like to the leader, but he was ridiculous today.
Yeah, it seemed like Morales had a whole lot of speed under his belt. Speaking of which, we were also asking Michael about Interlagos. Do you think maybe you can take it to Diego when you head over to South America?
I hope so. It's one of my favorite tracks.
Well,
I'm
go
looking
ahead.
forward to it.
Well, that's good news for you. Maybe not good news for Diego, but hopefully we get an exciting fight out of it. Congratulations on a second, and feel free to give a shout out to whoever you want on your way out, sir.
Thank you to everyone at SIMMSA and everyone who watched, I think.
That was Lewis Goodway, second place here today in Japan for round 3 of the PRL GT3 Sprint Car Series, or Sprint Series, not Sprint Cars. As we close up today, we want to give a big thank you to our sponsors, of course, NinjaTrader, who can be found at ninjatrader.com, SimMSA, who are at simsa.net, and ButtKicker. Their website is simply thebuttkicker.com. Thank you goes out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for her contacts. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Doug. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or check out our social media, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, go give a look at our merchandise store, just gsrc.storenv.com. See if you can get yourself some swag. But before you go there and click that link, make sure and see if you've subscribed to the channel yet. You'll know if you haven't because the button will be big and red. Next race, as we mentioned, will be at Interlagos Monday, October 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Just a few moments' time, we'll head over to the Porsche Owners Club Series. That'll be at Barber Motorsports Park. Kicks off at 10:45 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.